Welcome back to another episode of Mafia Family Ties, brought to you by William Attar Law. With me today, I have Matt Bove, sports director at WKBW. Matt, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
Yeah, long overdue.
Yeah, for sure. No, I've been liking all the content you guys have been turning out. You know, I see some of the episodes here and there. We were talking about some of the guests you've had. You got an impressive lineup, so I'm like very flattered to just be one of those guests. That's cool.
Aw. Yeah. I'm glad we were able to finally get you on. So
just been a little busy, but I'm glad that things are finally settling down a tad.
Yeah, sports are sportsing and everything. So
yeah, sports are sportsing. What a fun time, though.
Yeah, absolutely. So before we get into all that, let's cover some basic stuff.
Sure.
I want to know about the Matt Bove origin story.
Yeah.
You're a Western New York kid growing up. Now you work in, local news.
Yeah.
Give me some of that backstory.
So grew up in Wheatfield, from Western New York. My mom's from Niagara Falls. My dad is from Elma. My mom won and we got the Northtown. So my dad had to make the sacrifice, but I think he still wanted a little space. So they ultimately ended up in Wheatfield. That's where I grew up. Loved sports growing up. It felt like every day of my life, sports were consuming me in some capacity, whether it was playing sports, watching sports, talking about sports. I always knew that I wanted to do something in sports, but I was not good enough to play them at any type of high level. So I was like, okay, I got to figure something out once I get to the real world. So that's kind of why I ultimately pursued this. But, grew up and was a huge Bills fan, a huge Sabres fan. Dad had Bills season tickets from like 85 to 97. Growing up, would go to a ton of Sabres games with my friends and different people who had season tickets and like all this stuff. And I really, really loved those teams. So I always knew I wanted to do something tied to sports. I was just fortunate to kind of fall into the right place and then eventually dip my toes in the water. But yeah, like Western New York, I've been here my entire life. My wife is from Western New York. We're raising our family in Western New York. Like this is very much home. This will always be home. And it's the best.
It's really cool because there's so many people that work in local news that don't have that opportunity,
for sure.
Whether they grew up in Massachusetts or Texas or whatever, but now they're doing sports in Buffalo. Mm-hmm. You got to grow up, and you just mentioned a moment ago, you were a huge fan of these teams. What's it like covering those teams now?
So you definitely switch your focus, and it almost felt like it happened naturally. Like I can vividly remember one of my first jobs when I was starting in sports was I would shoot games on the sidelines for Channel 7. I would shoot the video. And I remember in the beginning, I was thinking about if it was a good or bad thing for the Bills when the play was happening. And that's kind of how I would be reacting and processing in my head. And at some point it naturally switched to, did I get the shot? Am I where I need to be? And it just kind of happened. And I was like, wow, this is weird. Now, my life is when the Bills win, people are excited. My wife is happy. My family is happy. People are excited about it. Like it absolutely has an impact, but it's definitely a philosophical change. And it happens over time. And the more you get close to it and, the more you see how the sausage is made, I think it's a little bit easier to kind of differentiate those two things. But being here when the teams are good is so fun. And it's just like cool to be part of it, to see especially I think of the Sabres run that they were just on and like how alive the city felt and the group messages with your friends of like, hey, this is where we're going for the game tonight. This is what we're doing. So it's definitely a shift. And I feel like I've gotten better at it over the years, but it took a little time.
Yeah, I missed that already. We were talking about beforehand how like, it's all right. Life's a little bit back to normal now, but like I really miss like having something to look forward to like every 2 days.
Something about the weather being nice and the Sabres being on TVs, whether it's at a house in Depew or at a bar in Amherst, whatever it is, just like everybody coming together to watch that. I spent so much of my time, the first 10 years I was at the station, explaining to other people what Buffalo is like when the Sabres are good. This year they did it for me, right? Like the city just got completely bought in again. Shirts probably took off, right? Everybody wanted Sabres gear. Everybody wanted Sabres merch. So it was cool to see that again. My hope is that this is just the start and that we're talking about this team this way for a long time.
Yeah, here's to that.
Yeah.
So you've been doing this for a while now. How has sports media changed in the time since you were an intern or even since you decided that you wanted to do this for a living? How has it changed to where we are now?
Wow. We could spend an hour talking about this because it has
changed.
Do that. Yeah, let's not do that. It's changed a ton in a lot of good ways and also a lot of ways that I wish I would have been doing this years ago because the internet and just like the priorities of things. This job, sports director at Channel 7, I think there's been 6 or 7 of us. It was completely an accident. I didn't mean to do the whole 6-7 thing. There's probably been 6 of us, I think, in Channel 7's entirety. And for the first 4 of them, the priority was all TV all the time. It was being on TV at 6 o'clock, 11 o'clock, always making sure that you were the person who was talking about what happened and informing people that way. I would say for the last two, which was Joe Biscaglia, my predecessor, and then myself, it's been much more multi-platform. It's finding people where they are. And a part of that is on TV, right? Like you still have an audience that's watching TV and that's getting their news and consuming it that way. But it's also online, on our website, social media, YouTube, all of these different platforms that we're trying to make sure we're finding you where you're at. So I think that's the biggest bit of news. Like before, if you were covering a Bills training camp practice and Sammy Watkins made a crazy one-handed catch, you'd be like, oh, I've got this great video and I'm going to put it on the news at 6 o'clock. Now it's, okay, I'm going to put it on Instagram and I'll put it on Twitter and it maybe goes viral and then all these people are going to see it. And then if you haven't seen it by then, well, here it is on TV and you can see it then. So it's just a very different approach to like how I categorize and plan my day. I think of like a pie chart. And for years and years and years, 80, 90% of that pie chart would have been being on TV, making TV. Now that's 50%, 40%, trying to churn out content as much as possible.
It's so much different, I imagine, than being like 6 and 11.
Yeah.
As opposed to, well, something just happened right now, I've got to post about it. I got to share my thoughts about it.
I mean, Sean McDermott gets fired at 9 o'clock in the morning, and then at 9:05, you're on live TV because you can go down in your basement and put up a microphone and stand in front of a laptop and talk about it for 30 to 45 minutes because there's an appetite for that. There's an audience for that. We don't have the patience just collectively as we once did. So it's like, okay, because if you're not doing it, somebody else is, right? So that's the thing that you've got to always be paying attention to. So I don't know the perfect formula. I'm trying to figure it out. I don't know if anybody really does. You're just trying to kind of be ahead of it and making sure that you can, not be too late.
The Sammy Watkins one-handed catch, is that a Sal Capaccio shout out?
No, it was actually a young Matt Bove shout out.
My bad.
I went back and thought of.
Sal's your co-host, so if we make it weird, it's okay.
No, totally. The reason I remember that is because in 2014, this was like perfectly humbling while also like a slap in the face. I got this great shot of Sammy Watkins making this crazy catch at Bill's training camp, and I posted it on Twitter, and Channel 2, who I do not work for, like took the video and posted it. It was like, look at this great shot from Matt Bove of Sammy Watkins. I was like, yo, I work at Channel 7. Like you can't just like be taking my video. So they didn't even know who I was. So that was like a little disheartening, but it was also kind of awesome that they were like taking a Channel 7 video and putting it elsewhere. So that's what I was referring to.
Funny.
Back in the good old days. Yeah, that was like, it was a different wave. We've had like this wave of sports media that was Jonah Javad and Adam Benini.
Jonah's my guy. I'm going to have him on here eventually.
Oh, yeah. Ed Kilgore. Like, the industry, like there's been some holdovers and like I'm now like kind of one of the old heads, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, there's been a lot of names and faces over the years.
Yeah, there's eras to it almost, even in the past like 15 years.
Yeah, well, I think of like Channel 7. When I think of Channel 7, I think of Murph. I think of the longtime sports director, John Murphy. Some people would say Rick Azar, right? He was around for a while, Jeff Russo, but like that's one era. And then they just kind of continue to bridge the gap. Channel 2 was Ed Kilgore, Adam Benini. Channel 4 had Van Miller for a while. Yeah. Like it's been it's cool to kind of be part of that group because I don't understand how I'm part of that group. Like I hear those names and like the way people have talked about them and being like, that doesn't make sense that like I'm one of these sports directors. That's just kind of weird to me.
Is that imposter syndrome?
Yeah, right? For sure. I still don't know what I'm doing. I'm pretending like I know what I'm doing, and I'm just hoping that I can pretend for as long as they'll have me, and then eventually it's time to retire.
I think that's part of being an adult. Is like none of us really know what we're doing. We're just all acting like it.
Yes.
That's a whole different conversation.
Definitely. This is an existential crisis at this point.
But it's funny. You mentioned Rick Azar. I remember there was another guy, Jerry Azar.
Jerry Azar, no relation.
I cannot believe I've never believed that.
No relation. So Rick Azar forever. So the way it's been explained to me, and this is cool, Rick Azar, sports director, Channel 7 forever. When he left, Jerry Azar came in, but Jerry Azar was not like a sports director. Bob Kaczynski was. Bob Kaczynski went to Wheatfield. I went to Wheatfield. Kind of loved the 2 of the 6 from Channel 7. Went to Wheatfield. And then there was Murph for a long time, Jeff Russo, Joe Biscaglia, and then myself.
Good stuff. Yeah. Good stuff. All right. So I have it in the little bio that before we start this, you worked at the Niagara Falls factory
Hell
outlets?
yeah, I did for a long time, 4 years. I worked at Gap for like 3 years and 3 months.
You're a Gap guy?
I was a Gap guy. Well, I just like worked there. I luckily was able to work a lot of shipment schedules. So I would work from 5 to 10 a.m.
Oh, so they didn't let you in front of the customers?
They did eventually. They put me in front of like the cash register. But I'd basically just like put on headphones and listen to like WGR in the morning. And I'd sit there and I would like fold clothes and I would put the sensors onto the clothes and then put them on the conveyor belt. So that's what I did most of the time. But then on Saturdays, if you work in retail, everybody has to work Saturdays. So I'd work a lot of 1 to 10 p.m. shifts on the cash register at the Gap outlet in Niagara Falls. And then I switched over to Nike for about a year. I actually overlapped. I worked at Channel 7 and Nike at the same time. Anne was going to school. That was a very chaotic part of my life.
Yeah, no doubt. And Black Fridays, don't forget, everybody has to work on Black Friday.
Black Friday, everybody has to work. You'd work overnights. And when you worked at Nike, at the top of every hour, they'd play Air Force Ones by Nelly because it's like a casino where nobody knows what time it is, but everybody's in there. And that was your only saving grace of like, oh, Air Force Ones is playing again. Like,
it's been an hour.
It's been an hour. Only have 10 more of these to go, selling shoes to people who have driven over from Canada. This is great.
So what was it like? What was it like moving from the mall and overlapping, like you just said?
Yeah.
Going right from working that retail right into your career.
Yeah. Keith Radford, our old anchor, used to always say, like, straight from the outlet mall, Matt Bove, with his like rich broadcaster voice. You work so hard in those jobs. It's different. I felt like I was always working so hard and I was so exhausted in those jobs, but I didn't necessarily feel super stressed about it. I felt like I could just kind of leave it there. I would finish my shift and I would not think about Gap or Nike until the next time I walked into that building. Immediately getting into Channel 7. When I started at Channel 7, I was 20 years old. So my entire thing was, you have this.
So you're 25 now.
Yeah,
so
I wish, right? I wish. So when I got there, I was 20 years old. And my entire thing was, they have let me come here. There is no way I'm screwing this up. Like, I'm going to do everything possible to try and turn this into a job, whatever it ultimately was. So that was my motivation. So I think I took working at Channel 7 a lot more serious. And I maybe I didn't do myself. Like, I probably should have given more to those retail jobs that I had, but I was like so dead set on like, okay, you have this opportunity, do not screw this up and just try and take advantage of it. So that was very much the mindset, going from like one thing to the other. I remember I used to go from Gap, I'd be there from 5 to 10 in the morning. I'd do shipment. Then I'd go to Buff State. I'd be in my classes until like 4 or 5 o'clock. My first job at Channel 7 was a temporary part-time show editor for the 11 o'clock news. And I would do that from 6 to 11:30. And I'd just wake up and do it all again the next day. Like, sleep wasn't a thing, but it prepared me for parenthood. Yeah. So I don't, who needs sleep?
Who needs sleep? Right.
Exactly.
That's really cool. Just how you worked your way up to now to sports director. You've gone through like, it seems like every step along the way.
I think it's really valuable to me that I learned the job from back to front. And so many people learn it the other way. They get into it and they immediately know, like, I want to be on television. That to me wasn't really the plan. I just wanted to do something in sports. So I learned what a show editor does. I didn't know what that was. Then I became a videographer. Then I became a news reporter. So you wear all of these different hats. It's also lined up with just the way the industry has changed, right? Our staff now is not what it was 15 years ago and not even close to what it was 30 years ago. So you got to wear a lot of different hats. Whenever I go back to like Buff State or I talk to students and they ask me whatever advice I have, that's usually the thing. It's like, try and know as much about as many different jobs as possible, because that's what you're going to be doing. Like, the days of just being a TV sports anchor are few and far between. You're, taking your own video, you're posting your own content, you're writing things on the web, you're directing, you're editing, you're doing all this stuff. So it's good to know it. But the way I learned it was, I was very fortunate for.
So you mentioned being a reporter and now you're sports director. I'm going to ask you a question about that, but real quick.
Yeah.
What year did you graduate from Buff State?
2013.
2013. All right.
December of 2013. So right. I graduated Niagara Wheatfields 2010, graduated Buff State December of 2013. I started in Channel 7 July of 2013. So a couple months prior.
So we just missed each other. I was 04.
Oh, nice. Just a little bit. Go Bengals.
Go Bengals. So in your time as reporter, sports director, what's been your favorite story to cover?
Ooh, that's a great question. Can it be news or can it be?
You get to answer.
When I was a news reporter, one of the stories that always stuck with me was there was a little girl who had some sort of like developmental difference. I don't remember what it was because it was a long time ago, but she was in the hospital and she couldn't have a birthday party. So her mom put out some plea on social media asking for people to send her birthday cards. and this was like infancy of social media, so I don't think it took off the way it probably would now. But we got a hold of her and we did the story, and like thousands of people from Western New York sent this little girl birthday cards. And a lot of that was because of the story that we did. So that always sticks with me of like, wow, like that was a time when you made a difference in somebody's life or helped make a difference. That always like kind of lingers in the back of my head. So that was amazing. Got to ride in like a Thunderbird fighter pilot. That was really cool. Like that was sick. That's like, that's the heartwarming thing. And this is so like the, that's sick.
At the outset, saying, dude, exactly. I was in a jet fighter.
Yeah. And then like certain games to be at is, now that I'm more sports, like I've been at some really awesome football games, and to be a small part of those is like something that I'll probably talk about for the rest of my life.
That's awesome. And we'll get into that in a little bit. What's your earliest Bills memory? Because you grew up a Bills fan. What's the earliest memory you have?
Wow. I haven't thought about this. What is my first Bills memory? I remember going to a game for the first time with my dad. It was a preseason game. And my dad worked in Orchard Park, like a mile away at a business park, a mile away from the stadium. So I remember going and parking there. Actually, we went to Alton's first. We got breakfast with my grandfather. Then we went to the stadium. So that's probably the first thing I remember. The first player I remember is Takeo Spikes and Drew Bledsoe. Like that was like me learning about the Bills, becoming a Bills fan, and then really getting into it. So those would be like the first players I associate with, the first jerseys that I had: Takeo Spikes, Drew Bledsoe, Eric Moulds, Peerless Price, Josh Reed, like all those guys. But I couldn't tell you like
those early 2000s.
Yeah, early 2000s. Because at that point, I'm 8 years old. So I feel like that's like prime getting into sports fandom, and I'd always sit there and watch the games with my dad, but I didn't fully comprehend what was going on. Like I remember thinking when the half ended, the team that had the ball last, the other team just got the ball in the next half. Not understanding like you can defer in the coin toss and being like, why do the Bills not have the ball? They ended the half, like trying to figure all that stuff out. But I learned eventually.
Yeah, I'm glad. I'm glad that if you're directing sports at the local news, I'm glad that you got that little detail.
Yeah, for sure.
Nailed down. In terms of like the fandom, was there a time that you realized like, wow, Bills fans are different than other kinds of fans?
Oh, definitely. So I think I mentioned at the beginning, my dad had season tickets from 85 to 97, but my dad eventually got rid of his tickets because he said it was too big of a commitment with a young family, with myself and with my sister. So he would watch the games at home. They stunk. So it was always Sunday, 1:00. And he'd have so much nervous energy that he needed to find something to do while watching the games. So he would go into the basement and he would get the ironing board, bring it upstairs in the middle of the living room, and then iron his dress shirts for the week. So he was like taking out his nervous energy while watching the Bills game and then like screaming at the TV. And, everybody has the story, but my mom would be standing in the kitchen watching the game. And if something good happened, she'd stay there. If something bad happened, she'd go upstairs and she'd watch the game on the TV there. And I'm like, this is crazy. I'd sit in the exact same spot on the couch for every single game. And if things were going well, I'd stay there. If not, I would go sit on the ground and I would do. So like all of these superstitions and rituals that you think matter, in my head, like I know people hear this and they're like, that's crazy. But there's also people who are like, I totally get that. So that's when I think I realized when he was ironing his clothes in the middle of the living room, like, yeah, this is more than just football.
I like, that's actually that's some big brain stuff right there. Like I got to get this done.
Yeah.
I got the energy instead of just like pacing and like
walking back and forth. I'm just going to sit there and iron clothes and I'm going to be staring there watching like whatever Greg Williams thinks is the best thing for this team.
There's a whole other conversation. Greg Williams. Yeah, that's really funny. I remember my buddy moved in with us in high school. I was calling my brother. So my brother would come downstairs during a game and they always did well. Yeah. It felt like when he was upstairs. So I remember one time he comes downstairs, he's walking down the stairway. My mom is yelling, get back up there. Yep. Get back.
Yeah.
Borderline abusive maybe. But,
yeah. Well, if they're winning.
Hey,
sacrifices.
What was that beer commercial? It's only crazy if it doesn't work?
Exactly. Right. Exactly. I feel that. I feel that in my soul.
For sure. Okay, so a lot of times we talk about tailgating and how do you get geared up for a game, but for you it's different. So
definitely
home game, away game, what do those look like for you?
Okay, home game, usually wake up and try and go on a run just because I have like a lot of like built up angst and energy already for the game. So I usually wake up and just kind of like go on a run or just like go and take the dog on a walk. I listen to the same playlist on the way to every single game. It's just like very superstitious.
What's on that?
The first song on it is Hell's Bells, just because it's like my dad's favorite song. So I hear it and I think about my dad, and I just kind of want to start the day by thinking about him by hearing that song. And then there's just a couple other songs on there that I really like, and it just kind of progressively gets into like modern music that I'm listening to. But, you know, I live on Grand Island, so the commute to the stadium, some days it's 45 minutes. Some days if traffic's bad, it's an hour and a half. So like I need a good playlist to have.
I'm in Kenmore. We should hang out.
There you go. I'll scoop you up on the way.
Yeah,
I just get there really early, so you won't be able to tailgate. So that is the ritual for home games. For road games, you know, so many road games now, they've been in prime time. So I find myself sitting there like, what do I do with the entire day when I'm out there? So it's a good opportunity to go explore a city if it's not a 1 o'clock game. And that's been one of my favorite parts about the job is like, why else would I be in Kansas City, Missouri? Well, now I've been in Kansas City, Missouri, maybe more than any other place. So like you go and you explore and you find these places that you like. So those are usually like pretty relaxing, nice mornings, maybe meet up with some colleagues, go get breakfast, whatever. If it's a 1 o'clock game, it's usually just like get up and go and try and be to the stadium. I'd say on a road game by like 10 o'clock, I want to be there by the time the players are arriving. For home games, it's about the same. And, you know, they're really long days, but they're the funnest days for me ever. Every Sunday is like, why do I get to do this? How am I able to have this job? Because it's really cool.
Long days that go quickly.
Long days that go very quickly, and then you almost want time to slow down. Like for me, if it's a 1 o'clock game, that window between 4 o'clock and 6 o'clock when I got to be on TV feels like it happens like that. And I'm just looking at the clock. I needed a job where it didn't feel like every day was the same. And that to me is like the perfect. I'm like, I wish this would slow down. Imagine having a job where you wish the clock would slow down and not speed up. Like I'm very fortunate for that.
Yeah. Favorite city that you've explored? Just what one comes to mind?
Seattle.
It's one of my favorite cities I've been to.
Love Seattle.
It's so much fun to explore that city.
I was between Seattle and London. London was really cool, but I love Seattle.
Especially if you like seafood, right?
Yeah, it's like seafood and nature. This past trip that they went a couple years ago, my wife came, we went hiking, we went to Mount Rainier. It's just like such a cool place. And because it happens so infrequently, it feels like it's something to look forward to.
Right.
I also really love Kansas City. And I think that is a game day experience.
That was a great conversation.
I feel like that's a very cool game day experience that if you haven't done it yet, you will enjoy because there are so many similarities to what a game in Orchard Park feels like.
I've heard that before.
Have you not been?
No, I've never been.
It's pretty spectacular. I mean, like the tailgating is serious. It's just a little bit away from downtown. I like the downtown. The fans I've interacted with and the people I've interacted with have always been so cool. And yeah, it's a bummer because it's ended there so many times. So like you've got those negative memories to it, but I really do enjoy going there.
Yeah. A barbecue, right? Can't complain about that.
Yeah. Good food, fans that care. Like that's the thing that I always appreciate when you go to a place and the fans like truly care about the team. And that's definitely the case there.
We're going to throw a little shade.
Okay.
What's one city where the fans just didn't seem to care?
Ooh. You know, I think it's changed over the years because I maybe would have said Jacksonville years ago, but that's definitely not the case anymore.
No,
like this playoff game that this past year, that fan base, they're so
into it.
They get a lot of
shade, and that's not fair.
It's not fair because I think when I think of my first trips to Jacksonville, the team wasn't good. The team was struggling. Like that's difficult for any fan base. I always think of like when you go to Miami and it's just there's so many Bills fans. There's so many Bills fans, and there are some incredible Dolphins fans and passionate fans. But like every time I go there, there is a ridiculous amount of Bills fans there. And like, I get it. Like there's a lot of amazing things to do in Miami. It's an incredible city, but it has never felt like they have a true home field advantage. If it wasn't 95 degrees, it feels like a Bills home game a lot of the time.
Yeah, I've never been to Miami either. I gotta get down there for a game eventually.
Yeah, it's a cool spot just because there's so many things happening for Bills fans who travel there. So many people just like walking down the beach, just like in Bills shirts and jerseys. It's pretty cool.
I gotta get there. So going to all these different cities, you probably meet all these reporters from different different cities. That cover the different teams. Especially being from Western New York.
Yeah.
Have you ever found yourself that you have to explain Bills Mafia
all the time? All the time. I have to explain that it's just different. Like, I promise you it's different. And I even think of that, like, for my company, right? My company owns TV stations all around the country, and a lot of them are NFL markets. I was like, you can't compare Buffalo to Cincinnati and Jacksonville and Detroit and Chicago and all these other places. Like, all of these places have really great fans. It just means so much here. It means so much. So yes, I find myself explaining that to people of being like, no, like I promise you don't truly get it. I work at a TV station. I always joke, and I like say this half jokingly. You could start every single newscast with Bills news.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't really feel out of place. That is an insane thing.
Often they do.
Often they do, because it's something that brings so many people together and touches all of these different parts of Western New York that everybody cares about in some way, shape, or form. So it's very different.
All right. So you've been dialed in, your whole life. You said you always want to do something around sports, paying a lot of attention even before you were working in the field to what the team is doing. Do you have a favorite era, or are there eras that stick out to you of Bills history?
Probably this most recent one, just because it's been the one that I've been closest to. It feels like to me it started on Thanksgiving in 2019 in Dallas. Like, that is one of my favorite sporting events I've ever been to, because it even at that time felt like, whoa, this team has arrived. It felt like an arrival. So to me, I would say really the Sean McDermott, Josh Allen era. Like, that to me has been my favorite. I don't know if that's just from the professional standpoint, but it's been cool to see this team be so good. And almost like the way I talked about the Sabres, the way my dad would talk to me about the 90s and the Super Bowl runs, and being like, yeah, well, whatever. Like, I've heard the stories. Yeah. They stink. Dad, they're 7-9 right now. Like, this is what we're used to. So to see it flip to this has been very cool, professionally and personally.
That's a good point about that Dallas game in 2019. That really was like their arrival.
It was amazing. It was incredible. Like, I think of the play, like Josh picking up the fumble on the QB sneak and getting the first down, it going to a 2-minute warning. They score on a trick play the next day.
It was John Brown, right?
It was John Brown throwing it to Devin Singletary wide open. I think about the celebration in the locker room after that game of just how fired up. That's a moment. Jonah Javad, call back to a name. I golfed with him the day before the game and a couple of our other colleagues, and he had been in Dallas already. Mm-hmm. And he was like, it's cool to see the Bills doing well, but he's like, I don't know if they're ready to take on this Cowboys team. And then the next day, the Bills kicked the crap out of the Cowboys. And it was like, maybe they're pretty good, Jonah. Like, not just to him, but like the whole world kind of saw that. And for it to happen on Thanksgiving was cool. And then ever since then, they've been one of the best teams in the NFL.
For sure. Now, you've had the opportunity now for so many years to cover every single game that the Bills have played. Yeah. Is there a game you wish you could go back in time? Like, man, I really wish I could have covered that game.
Well, you were part of it. We did our stadium series for Channel 7, and it felt like the consensus 2 best games in the stadium that everybody talked about were 51-3 in the comeback game. So hearing everybody talk about those, like hearing my dad talk about them when he was still alive, like 51-3 to me is not something that I can even fathom. The comeback game to me is easier to like comprehend. A team winning an AFC championship 51-3 doesn't make sense as somebody who has covered other AFC championship games. Yeah. So to be in the building that day, I feel like would have been pretty remarkable. So I think that's my answer.
Yeah, that's a good answer. I'm old enough. I was a sophomore in high school when that game was played. I wasn't at the stadium, but I remember that whole second half, like knowing you're going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like pure celebration at that point. It would just be so cool to be part of that and then also have the excitement of knowing what's coming. It didn't end well. Yeah. But like that entire second half being like, this team's going to the Super Bowl. Like, and then for me, if I was in the press box, like, I'm going to the Super Bowl. Like, that's really cool.
I'm going to Tampa.
Yeah, exactly.
It's cold here right now.
Yeah, exactly.
I just remember Jim Kelly like just firing footballs into the stands during that second half. Just like each one, I remember my dad going, "That one's $100. That one's $100." I guess they get fined. I guess for each time that happens.
I just a fan of that bill. You'd have been so bombed. It would have been crazy. It would have been crazy.
What a party! Yeah. What a party for sure. All right, so new stadium on deck.
Yep.
Have you had the chance to go through it yet?
I have. Yeah, It's beautiful. It's really, really cool. So I'm excited.
You have an idea of what what's going to be there. Obviously, we've talked about it ad nauseum. But so, is there one thing that maybe you think they forgot to add, or you wish they would have added?
A roof? No, I'm just kidding. No, there's not anything that immediately comes to mind. I think the video boards are a tad underwhelming as far as like NFL standards are concerned. But I also understand like that they're really leaning into the acoustics of the building and like, listen, this is going to sound incredible and it's going to feel so differently. I keep looking at the videos and the pictures of the actual stadium, and there being these gaps on both sides of the scoreboard, and being like, why didn't you just stretch it out a little bit more? Like, you had that extra space. But no, I think it's going to be beautiful. I think there are so many comparisons to the Tottenham Stadium in London, and the Bills played there not that long ago. So to see a football game there, and then to try and envision what it's going to be like in Buffalo, I think it's going to be really cool and really special. But it's also like not oddly, it's like very sad watching the videos of the stadium that's currently there get demolished, like this early phase of it. It's like, wow, like I didn't think this would make me emotional, but it is.
It's now we can really never go back.
Exactly. Truly.
It kind of doesn't exist.
I would have like kept it up just in case, like, just in case everything's not ready or something, just like have this backup.
Can you imagine the logistical nightmare they'd have to have for just having that ready to go just in case?
Oh, right. Oh, it would be a mess. And I mean, you think about, like, it's not practical, right? No. It costs so much money to keep the lights on of that place. So it makes sense that they're doing it the way that they're doing it.
So you watch every game from the press box.
Yeah.
What's one thing maybe people don't know, or maybe they don't understand about the press box?
That it's silent. That it's truly like silent in there. I mean, most press boxes have glass that is soundproofed in some capacity. So when I'm sitting in my seat at the old Highmark Stadium watching a football game and Josh throws a touchdown to whoever, Dalton Kincaid, and there's this huge pop of excitement that's happening out in the crowd, you hear a little murmur. And then you hear a press box announcer go, Josh Allen to Dalton Kincaid, 16-yard touchdown, Bills 7, Chiefs 0. And that's pretty much it.
Sounds terrible.
It's a stale way to watch a game, and it takes some getting used to. Yeah. Like, you can still visualize the excitement. You can hear a little bit of it because it's really hard to soundproof a building like Highmark Stadium. There are a couple press boxes that are open air. I love that. Some people hate it. Some people don't like to be doing work while you're right in the environment. I'm like, this is why we do this job. Right. Like, we want to be in this environment. Hockey is like that. Hockey press boxes are just out in the open. Like, there is no glass. You just feel the emotion of what's happening. So that's the thing. I would say it's a very different experience. And if you are a true diehard fan, it would definitely take some getting used to.
Yeah. So I'm gonna, my section in the old stadium was 224.
Right there.
I think I would text people sometimes like, hey,
right
wait, if I saw. So, and I would see you guys come out, whether it was you or Perino or Tim Graham, and I'd just standing there sometimes. Is it because you're trying to get a feel for the crowd?
Exactly. Like, I want to like take in like that so I can better explain it if I need to, especially like on the podcast with Sal afterwards when, he was on the sideline and he was explaining kind of the atmosphere. I wanted to be able to feel that for myself. There's also just like selfishly moments that you wanted to be a part of and be outside for. I remember walking to that little area for the Bengals Bills playoff game, because I didn't know what was going to happen with DeMar. Like, are they going to show DeMar on the screen? Are they going to have him walk out of the tunnel? I don't really know.
Because you guys knew he was on premises.
Exactly.
Right?
So I knew it was like, okay, waiting to see what they did. The last home game. Like, to me, that was like special. Like, I wanted to be there and experience it with people, not to be in the little fishbowl that was the press box. So I don't know if we're going to have that ability in the new stadium, honestly, because I don't know how it all fits together. But that was always something that I appreciated about the old press box.
Yeah, we'll have to have you back on so you can update us.
Yes, I will. Indeed.
All right, so we're going to go into the fourth quarter of this interview presented by William Attire Law. Do you have a favorite player growing up? Like, somebody that was a poster on the wall, or somebody just like when you were playing in the backyard, like you were that guy?
For hockey, it was Stu Barnes, definitely. And then it probably went to Danny Briere. And that was when I was in middle school. Like, I loved those Sabres teams. For the Bills, I don't know if I have a favorite player. I loved when Bledsoe got here because it felt like those teams were kind of fun again. I always really liked Eric Moulds as well. And I feel like we still don't give Eric Moulds enough credit for like how good he truly was.
That dude could have played linebacker.
I had season tickets for a couple of years when I was in college, and those were the Fitz teams. So it's hard not to like wax poetic about Fred Jackson or Kyle Williams or those guys. But then I have like the weird gray area overlap where like, then I started to cover some of them. So I kind of take that out of it a little bit. So it's easier for me to give that answer probably about the Sabres than the Bills.
All right. Speaking of the Sabres, what do you think this recent run that they just had, what do you think that did to the city?
It woke everybody up. It was incredible. It just made everybody so excited again to watch Sabres hockey and feel like the good old days, the better days, right? Of being like, hey, yeah, see, professional.
Well done.
Just knowing what this city and this team means to this city. So to be able to see that again, was like really full circle. And I love that, you know, I brought my daughter to her first game this year. She's 3. She's not going to necessarily remember it, but I'll remember it. I'll remember it, and I'll remember that it happened in the year when they ended the drought and they went on this crazy run that was so much fun. And like, I'll always appreciate and cherish that.
Yeah, I think it's one thing people don't understand when it comes to parenting, just as a side note. Like, why would you take your kids to Disney World at that age? They're not even going to remember it.
Oh, it's for me.
I'm going to remember them experiencing that
exactly.
stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. Yeah. I got the video.
They're not paying for it. I'm paying for it. This is for me.
She got her little certificate. She got a little stuffed saber tooth. I was like, you can pick out one thing. She picked out the one with the goat head. I was like, hey, she knows ball. Well done. Great. So yeah, I was like, oh, this is very much for me. This is an expensive day for me, but that's okay.
Yeah. That's a whole other parenting conversation, expensive days.
Yeah.
Right? But so the two fan bases, Sabres and Bills, how do they compare, contrast?
Oh, wow. What a great question. I don't know what the right way of explaining this is.
You're going to piss off one of them.
Yeah, for sure. No, definitely. Both incredibly passionate. Ooh, what is the right way of saying this? I think for a while, like when I think of like the Sabres and I think of like Sabres Twitter, it was like everybody was like commiserating with each other and that was like acceptable and cool. Whereas for a while, the Bills were like a little bit more protected. It was like, don't talk bad about the Bills. Like, don't talk about that. Whereas the Sabres, it was like, yeah, talk bad. But it was also just kind of like by association. The Sabres were bad and the Bills were good. So I don't know what it is. Like,
we hate on them because we care about them.
I don't know.
Right?
I don't know though, because I'm sitting here thinking, like trying to rack my brain around it, and I don't know what the answer. There's so much overlap. So many people who love the Bills love the Sabres and vice versa, and I feel like that's just Buffalo.
Yeah, I agree, and it's kind of funny how even questions like that make it sound like there's two different fan bases. But there is so much overlap. But there's some, and I've gotten some comments like when I get excited about the Sabres, I've followed them my whole life. I just don't maybe post about them that often, but like I've followed them, been a fan my whole life. People think, stay away from the Sabres. I'm like, dude, I'm not that bad luck, I promise.
I think it's like, you know that like Gordon Ramsay meme where like the one person is like hugging them and the other one is like yelling at them? That's what I mean. Like that to me is like the Bills and the Sabres. Like now the Sabres are the kid that he's hugging and the Bills are the thing that he's yelling at. But for years, I think it was the inverse.
It's wild. Yeah. We're very bipolar that way.
Yes.
A Super Bowl win.
Yeah.
What does that do for Buffalo? And what does that do for the fan inside of Matt Bove, who's I'm sure still in there?
I just think that it would mean so much to so many people. Like my father-in-law, Bill season ticket holder, loves the team more than anything. My wife, I remember the first time they went to the AFC Championship in 2020, she called me. I was in the Kansas City press box in the fourth quarter, and I walked to the back because I didn't know if anything was wrong, and she was sobbing. And she was like, they're going to lose. And I was like, honey, it's okay. It's just the beginning. It was a long time ago. But like, it means so much to so many people that I care about so much that I would love to see that happen for the city. And just to professionally be part of that would be such a bucket list item for me. And I feel the same way about the Sabres too. Like, you know, you want to be at the big things. You want to be at the big moments. And to be there would be really, really special. So that's what I think about, like the impact it would have on the community. I always tell people, I'm giving away a secret here, but exclusive to you. One of the stories that Channel 7 has to do if they go to the Super Bowl is it's easy to be at bars watching with people and you go to the watch parties and you go to the middle of the city. You go to a retirement home. That's where you go and you set up a camera. Because those people like, that like makes me emotional, like thinking about that, like getting their reaction if they win. Like that's one that I've always had in the back pocket of like,
I might be there for that. No, I mean, I might be in the home at the
yeah, right. Exactly. But I just always think about like, you always see the t-shirts, like one before I die. Right. And like these people who, you know, you don't know what their lives are like. You don't know what they've been through. To like see them experience that like makes me emotional thinking about that.
Yeah, I think a lot about when the Cubs won the World Series in 2016. All those stories that came out, there was literal old ladies wearing one before I die t-shirts.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, it means so much to so many people. And like, you know, my dad passed away. He was 61 years old. He was a Bills season ticket holder. He brought me to so many Sabres games. Like he never saw it. My grandfather died 6 weeks to the day after my dad died. Never saw it, right? Like, you start to wonder as you get older and older and older, will you ever see it? And that's what I think so many people are waiting for, if they ever get a chance to see it. And then how you connect with those other people, right? How many people, if they were watching the Bills win the Super Bowl, would they be thinking about all of those other people that they care about who are either not with us anymore or who still are? Like, and if they are, how fortunate. But yeah, that's why it would be so special.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, that's a great note to end on with all this talk. But we are going to talk about one more thing because it's very important to me and to this podcast.
Yeah.
Chicken wings. So Wing Talk.
How could it not be?
Yeah, brought to you by William Attire Law. First question is easy out of the gate, or maybe it's difficult. What's your go-to spot?
Okay. I have a Mount Rushmore of wings. Okay. My Mount Rushmore is Bar-Bill, 911 Tavern, Elmo's, and Adolph's. That's my Mount Rushmore. Sawyer Creek back in Wheatfield. Great local spot. Like, love that. Grew up right around the corner from there.
It's not really a hotel, is it?
No, it's just a restaurant and bar. But like my big four are the four that I mentioned. I think that they are all elite. And on any given day, one of them can be number one and one of them can be number four, but they're all like right there for me.
Like I say on every show, it's more notable to find a bad wing spot in Western New York.
Absolutely. And that's, I mean, we're so spoiled, right? Like I grew up in Wheatfield and I was able to, there was a couple places in Wheatfield that had killer wings. But if I didn't want that, I could drive 10 minutes and go to 10 more places that had incredible wings.
It's also a curse. Every time I travel, I feel like I have to get the wings there because I don't know if it's self-serving, makes me feel good about Buffalo. Like, I can't get this right.
There's a guy in Kansas City who makes great wings, Al. It's from South Buffalo. It's called Al's. So if you go to Kansas City.
Is he a Bills fan?
Oh, huge Bills fan.
Okay, all right.
Huge Bills fan.
I was about to throw
huge Bills fan. And he moved there and he was like, they didn't have good wings. So I opened up my own restaurant and they have very good wings. Shout out Al.
Stuff. Shout out Al. All right. So you have a favorite flavor or heat?
I'm a hot guy, but that sounds weird. Pause.
I was like, it's tempting to like, you are.
Thanks. I love like at Bar-Bill, like Cajun honey butter barbecue. At Elmo's, I love like Cajun medium double dip. I like that at 911, it's simple. Like just hit me with the fastball, which is just like hot, really, really good. So yeah, like I would say normally it's like a combination of like hot and Cajun, like 10 and 10 or something like that.
All right, good stuff. What's the most you've ever put down?
So we used to do this thing at this place called the Marlboro Inn back in Wheatfield, where you had to, the first time you came with the group for a Wednesday wing night, you had to at least eat 25. And then if you did, you would be welcomed back. And in that setting, I'd seen some people eating them, seen them. This was back when I was in high school. So wings were like 10 cents on Wednesdays.
Yeah, now you have to pay a second mortgage.
What a world. So I had seen some people take down like 50 and 45. I think the most for me is probably like 25. Yeah. I think I could keep going. I just would really hate myself, and I don't need to do that any more than I already do.
It's always enjoyable while it's happening, but then at the end of the night, you're like, what have I done?
Yeah, exactly. It's like
wake up full the next morning, never goes
I feel like the sweet spot is like 12. Yeah. 10's not enough.
Right. I agree with that.
But I want a couple more to just like, give me an even dozen. I wish more places did that than 10.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think there's some weird places when you travel, especially that do like
pounds,
12, and
like a pound. I was like, well, just give me 10 or 12.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Matt, this is a great conversation. Again, long overdue. Thank you for coming on.
No, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, looking forward to catching up in the future again.
For sure.